Welcome to World Code Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The South China Sea is a cauldron of competing claims, but not all disputes involve China. Beneath the headlines, a quieter conflict persists between the Philippines and Malaysia over Sabah, a territory on Borneo's northern tip. Rooted in the legacy of the Sultanate of Sulu, the Sabah claim is a historical grievance that never fully disappears. For Malaysia, Sabah's status was settled by a 1960s UN-backed referendum. For the Philippines, it remains an unresolved injustice. Both countries have often set the issue aside for ASEAN unity, but it resurfaces, threatening regional harmony. Today, as both nations face Chinese expansion in the South China Sea, the old Sabah dispute gains new relevance. Shared threats could unite them, but unresolved claims risk undermining cooperation. As Manila and Kuala Lumpur modernize their militaries and assert maritime rights, Sabah could become a dangerous flashpoint. This video explores the roots of the Sabah dispute, the legal and political arguments, and how current leaders are shaping its future. We'll compare their military strategies and alliances to understand if Sabah will remain a diplomatic irritant or erupt into a major crisis. The stakes are high. The outcome could shape Southeast Asia's stability for years to come. Let's dive in. The Sabah dispute traces back to the Sultanate of Sulu, which once ruled North Borneo. In 1878, the Sultan signed an agreement with a British syndicate, interpreted by the Philippines as a lease, by Malaysia as a cession. This legal ambiguity, rooted in translation, has fueled the dispute for over a century. When North Borneo joined Malaysia in 1963, the Philippines never recognized the transfer as legitimate. Malaysia points to a UN-backed referendum and annual payments to Sulu heirs as proof of settled sovereignty. Manila sees the payments as evidence of a lease. The 2013 Lahad Datu standoff, when armed followers of the Sulu Sultanate landed in Sabah, showed how quickly the issue can reignite. The dispute remains a low-level diplomatic conflict, with deep historical and emotional roots. Its legacy continues to shape Philippine-Malaysian relations today. Leadership in Manila and Kuala Lumpur shapes the Sabah dispute's tone. President Marcos Jr. of the Philippines champions national sovereignty, echoing his father's legacy and fueling nationalist sentiment. While focused on China, Marcos Jr. keeps the Sabah claim alive, using it as leverage in domestic and regional politics. He avoids direct confrontation with Malaysia, but his assertive foreign policy and renewed U.S. ties strengthen the Philippines' position. Across the sea, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim treats Sabah as a closed issue, prioritizing domestic reforms and regional stability. Malaysia's stance is firm. Sabah's status is non-negotiable, and any challenge is a threat to sovereignty. Yet, the Lahad Datu incident keeps Malaysia vigilant, prompting a stronger military presence in eastern Malaysia. Anwar's approach is quiet but resolute, publicly downplaying the dispute, privately preparing for any challenge. Both leaders walk a diplomatic tightrope, balancing national pride with the need for ASEAN unity. Their choices will determine whether Sabah remains a dormant issue or sparks new tensions. The stakes are rising. China's growing presence in the South China Sea forces both the Philippines and Malaysia to adapt. The Philippines, under Marcos Jr., confronts China openly, publicizing maritime incidents and invoking its 2016 legal victory. Malaysia prefers quiet diplomacy, protesting Chinese incursions but avoiding public clashes to protect economic ties. This divergence shapes their responses to both China and each other. For Manila, defending sovereignty in the South China Sea strengthens its Sabah narrative. For Kuala Lumpur, another territorial dispute is an unwelcome distraction from the real threat Beijing. The unresolved Sabah claim complicates efforts to present a united ASEAN front. The South China Sea is a geopolitical chessboard, and ASEAN unity is its missing piece. The Philippines leans on its U.S. alliance, granting expanded military access and positioning itself as a key Indo-Pacific partner. This security boost could embolden Manila to press its Sabah claim. Malaysia hedges, balancing ties with both China and the US, avoiding formal alliances to maintain neutrality. A flare-up over Sabah could force Malaysia to abandon its non-aligned stance, complicating its foreign policy. China benefits from ASEAN divisions, while the US sees intra-ASEAN disputes as obstacles to coalition building. The region's stability depends on managing both external threats and internal disputes like Sabah. The stakes go far beyond a single territory. Both nations are modernizing their militaries in response to regional tensions. The Philippines is shifting from internal security to external defense, investing in naval and air assets to deter aggression. New frigates, patrol vessels, and missile systems boost its maritime capabilities, primarily aimed at China, but also altering the balance with Malaysia. Malaysia's modernization focuses on Borneo, with new ships and aircraft to secure both the South China Sea and Sabah. Budget constraints slow Malaysia's progress, but its military presence in eastern Malaysia is growing. The Philippines' aggressive push could embolden future leaders to take a harder line on Sabah. Military upgrades on both sides raise the risk of escalation. International alliances shape both countries' security strategies. The Philippines relies on its mutual defense treaty with the US, gaining confidence to assert its claims. Manila also strengthens ties with Japan, Australia, and South Korea, building a web of support focused on the South China Sea. These partners, however, are unlikely to intervene in the Sabah dispute. Malaysia, officially non-aligned, benefits from the five-power defense arrangements, providing multilateral support without binding commitments. Both nations use these partnerships to bolster their positions, but external powers prefer to keep Sabah off the agenda. In a crisis, allies would push for de-escalation, not intervention. The influence of external powers is indirect but crucial. Malaysia's approach to disputes is quiet diplomacy, strategic silence on Sabah, back-channel management with China. This minimizes international attention and avoids legitimizing the Philippine claim. Malaysia's goal defends sovereignty without provoking confrontation or disrupting economic stability. The Philippines, under Marcos Jr., is more assertive, publicizing Chinese harassment and rallying international support. This assertiveness could set a precedent for handling Sabah, tempting future leaders to apply similar tactics. If Manila goes public with the Sabah claim, Malaysia may be forced into a more confrontational stance. The contrast, one quiet, one vocal, risks turning style differences into real friction. The diplomatic balance is fragile. How each country manages its posture will shape the future of the dispute. The risk of escalation is real. The Sabah dispute, set against South China Sea tensions, is a test for regional stability. The best-case scenario is continued pragmatism, agreeing to disagree for ASEAN's sake. But rising nationalism or a security incident could trigger a crisis, drawing in external powers and linking the two disputes. Alliances offer security, but risk entanglement in broader conflicts. Careful diplomacy and restraint are essential to prevent escalation. ASEAN's credibility depends on managing internal disputes peacefully. The Sabah claim is a reminder that old grievances can threaten new stability. The region's future may hinge on how Manila and Kuala Lumpur handle this delicate issue.